the bottom, there ain't nowhere else to go but up. Right. Bad days at work give you an attitude and you erupt. There's a cry asking why. The ladies will kick it, the rhyme it is wicked. Those that don't know how to be pros get evicted.
In a hip-hop world dominated by male rappers, Queen Latifah broke all boundaries to become a feminist icon. She not only shook up the music industry, but also left Hollywood in awe, with a string of prestigious awards such as Emmys, Grammys, Golden Globes, and Oscar nominations, something most rappers couldn't achieve. However, the name Queen Latifah is causing a stir on social media this time, not because of her brilliant achievements, but because of a shocking lawsuit. She is accused of being a dangerous criminal to young people with a lengthy sentence and charges that threaten to end her 30-year career. If you're confused and don't understand what happened in this video, we'll provide all the information you need to know about the most intense legal battle in the Queen of Hip-Hop's life. Why are you being accused? Let's uncover the surprising and dramatic truth behind this story. 1. Childhood. A fateful encounter with a career. From a very young age, Queen Latifah had to face a world full of pressure, lacking love and with no room for weakness. Born in Newark, New Jersey, into an unhappy, stressful family, she was a child who had to live in an environment constantly filled with conflict. His father was a police officer, his mother a teacher, jobs that seemed stable, but couldn't prevent the family's breakdown. Her mother, with her strict standards, always made her feel like a shadow, unable to be true to herself. Every night she could only cry alone, not because she was weak, but because she couldn't meet the enormous expectations her mother had set. School is not a place where she finds comfort. It wasn't because she lacked intelligence, but because she couldn't fit herself into the passive mold of well-behaved students. She was a lost child, not knowing where to go or what to do in a society where every step had to conform to standards. But things got even worse when her parents' divorce happened, shattering what little she had left in this life. Little Dana, Elaine Owens, not only lost her father's love, but was also deprived of her mother, the only person she had left to cling to. Her mother suddenly passed away, leaving her in a world filled with loneliness and despair. This loss is not only a major emotional shock, but also a breakdown of trust and stability. She no longer has anyone to lean on, no one to turn to when she's sad. That loss wasn't just the pain of a child, but the precariousness of an entire world collapsing. But it was these very losses that became the foundation for a career that was not only about music, but also about struggle. Queen Latifah found strength in music, especially rap. However, her journey to glory was far from easy. The young girl didn't have a favorable starting point, and along with that came the harshness of the media and seemingly insurmountable challenges. Especially in hip-hop, which surprisingly isn't a playground for women, she was accused of being fake. During a performance showcasing her rapping skills, the MC asked her, "Your eyes are so beautiful. Do you have a boyfriend yet?" Among tens of thousands of questions, this was the one asked of a child who was only 12 years old. Remember this detail as it marked the beginning of a treasure trove of scrutiny to come. On her path to rap, she didn't receive support from her family, especially from her father. A strict police officer, he considered rap something contemptible, unworthy of her, and he didn't hesitate to threaten to break her legs if she dared to run away from home to rap with her friends again. The story between them wasn't just about opposition, but about invisible battles. Once when he discovered Queen Latifah freestyle rapping in the park with her friends, his anger exploded. He couldn't stand it. And as a result, she was locked in her room for 3 days. She doesn't understand why she's being treated like this. For her, that strictness wasn't protection, but brutal control, making her feel as if she were deprived of all freedom and the right to live naturally. Nevertheless, music became Queen Latifah's only lifeline. Rap is not only a place where she can express her strong personality, but also a means to release the pain and injustice she has endured. The album, All Hail the Queen, was an immediate sensation, not only because of its exceptional musical talent, but also because of its powerful message about feminism and equality. Queen Latifah has become a pioneering role model for women of color, helping them find strength and confidence in a world full of prejudice and discrimination. In just a short time, her music touched the hearts of millions. The song UNITY 1993 stands out not only for its catchy melody, but also for its powerful message against violence and sexism. This song won a Grammy, solidifying Queen Latifah's status as an icon of feminism, freedom, and relentless struggle. All eyes were on her. Prestigious publications like The Source Vibe and Rolling Stone showered her with praise, and television shows constantly invited her to appear. Queen Latifah, once a hip-hop artist, has now become a national icon. But those very successes also created tragedy in her life. The powerful image Queen Latifah had built suddenly became a burden when society and the public placed her on an unattainable pedestal. Early success forced her to fight not only the challenges in her career, but also the expectations the world placed upon her. 2. The tragedy of a queen. Like a warhorse, Queen Latifah charged into the music industry with her album Nature of a Sista, making a strong impression from the very first notes. Her unique rap style with sharp lyrics reflecting the lives of women, especially women of color, not only topped the charts, but also solidified her position in the world of hip-hop. This album quickly received praise from music critics and Billboard, reaching high rankings on the R&B hip-hop charts. She became a shining star, but as her fame reached its peak, her privacy became easily violated. And then, in 1996, a shocking event occurred. It wasn't because of the music, but because of a shock. Police raided Queen Latifah's private home and discovered marijuana along with guns. The news was immediately exaggerated, and the media gleefully turned her into easy prey for sensationalist articles. The image of a strong, resilient female rapper fighting for women's rights was suddenly shattered. She was arrested for possessing marijuana and a gun, actions that are indefensible in the public eye. This was the first shock Queen Latifah had to face in her career. A feminist icon suddenly shattered in the eyes of those who once revered her. The incident quickly became the focus of public opinion, attracting attention from all corners. The media constantly digs up and brings to light past stories, making her an endlessly hot topic. Fans who had considered her an ideal role model suddenly had to face a bitter truth. The image she had built for so long was distorted, and everything from her career to her reputation was sliding into the abyss. But Queen Latifah didn't shy away at all. She faced the matter head-on. She spoke about the dangerous environment she lives in, especially in Newark, where carrying a gun is sometimes not a choice, but self-defense. She admitted to using cannabis, but firmly insisted that it did not define her as a person or her career. Cannabis is just a part of the past, undeniable, but also unable to overshadow what she has built and is building. Nevertheless, this shock not only tarnished her public image, but also plunged her into a deep depression. The relentless criticism from the media and the criticism and disappointment from the public made her feel like she was being attacked from all sides. She couldn't shake the feeling of being crushed under that terrible pressure, with every step she took being scrutinized. In those dark days, she had foolish thoughts, unimaginable intentions, wanting to jump off a cliff to end the pain, to end everything. The feelings of loss, loneliness, and hopelessness made her think there was no way out. But fortunately, she didn't carry out that intention. A final ray of light flashed in that dark night. She realized she couldn't let go, couldn't let things end that way. She decided to face it no matter how painful it was, instead of backing down. Throughout this difficult period, she not only had to battle emotional pain, but was also treated as a complete joke by the newspaper and television waves. No one spoke about her depression or the pain she endured, because behind her pain was the $1,000 media industry, and the amount of money earned was too great to stop crushing someone's life. The media criticized her for being hypocritical, and also condemned her for failing to maintain her feminist image in reality. They quickly turned their backs, firing a relentless barrage of criticism. But Queen Latifah didn't give up. She didn't let those difficulties and criticisms defeat her. Instead, she turned those challenges into motivation to grow. She learned that every decision and every action has consequences, but what matters is how you face and overcome them. Queen Latifah's tragedy is not the end point. It's part of her journey of growth, where she affirms that no matter how many challenges she faces, a queen will always stand tall and shine. She won not because she didn't face difficulties, but because she never gave up on herself. She doesn't allow pain, criticism, and life's difficulties to dim her light. On the contrary, she shone more brightly than ever. 3. The tragedy of a black woman in a prejudiced society. Since entering the music industry, Queen Latifah has faced numerous challenges. But when personal and public tragedies struck, she not only endured pressure from the music industry, but also suffered terrible injustice from the media and society. In a society rife with prejudice and discrimination, especially against women of color, Queen Latifah became a role model for feminism, but also a victim of injustice and unattainable expectations. Compared to male artists in the music industry, the treatment Queen Latifah receives is completely unfair. When male rappers get into scandals, they are often forgiven by the public and are even considered bad boys, rebels who bring a cool image to the industry. They may be deeply involved in scandals, but it doesn't seem to have much of an impact on their careers. However, when Queen Latifah faced mistakes or imperfect decisions, she was treated cruelly by the media and the public. Instead of being understood or forgiven, she was heavily criticized. The image of a successful, resilient woman who was always at the forefront of the feminist movement was immediately shattered, all because of some momentary mistakes. This further highlights the injustice in how society views women, especially women of color. Not only that, the treatment of Queen Latifah is also deeply marked by hypocrisy. She was not only judged for her own actions, but also because she is a woman of color. While male artists can express themselves freely, even make mistakes and have flaws, with Queen Latifah, every mistake is magnified tenfold. In the public eye, a famous woman like her is not allowed to make mistakes, nor is she allowed to reveal her weaknesses or internal conflicts. If she can't maintain a perfect image, society won't forgive her. That expectation was too high and too heavy, turning her into an infallible being, an untouchable goddess. But in reality, she's just human too, and everyone can make mistakes. However, society did not allow her that right. As a black woman, Queen Latifah has to navigate a series of double standards. While male artists can freely express strength and personality, Queen Latifah was forced to conform to a perfect mold that society had created for her. She is not allowed to show weakness, she is not allowed to make mistakes. Every step she took was monitored and criticized, and any sign of weakness made her a target of criticism. Meanwhile, male rappers, regardless of their wrongdoing or irresponsibility, are often shielded and protected. This not only put Queen Latifah under professional pressure, but also forced her to battle deep-seated societal prejudices about gender and race. Queen Latifah's tragedy lies not only in personal failures or life mistakes, but also in the cruel discrimination she faces from society. She became more susceptible to criticism than anyone else in the music industry because she carried the label of woman of color. Every time she reveals a weakness, society relentlessly condemns her. She couldn't be wrong, couldn't be weak, and if she were, she would be considered a failure. This expectation not only made her feel tired, but also prevented her from living authentically. She wasn't allowed to show fatigue or fear, because if she did, she would be cast aside from the image of the strong woman society had painted for her. The most painful aspect of Queen Latifah's tragedy is the lack of public empathy. She had to face relentless criticism, while the mistakes of male artists were overlooked and sometimes even considered part of their appeal. Every action of hers, no matter how small, is subject to intense scrutiny. The recognition she received from music was not enough to fill the void left by the pain she endured in her personal life, as society did not allow her to live as a normal human being with full emotions and vulnerabilities. This tragedy is not only the story of a famous woman criticized by the public, but also a reminder of society's injustice toward women of color. Queen Latifah, despite overcoming numerous challenges to become an icon, still faces deeply ingrained prejudices that cannot be erased. She not only had to struggle with herself, but also fight against society and unattainable expectations. She became a symbol of strength, but also a victim of excessive expectations and relentless discrimination. Queen Latifah's tragedy is the tragedy of a black woman in a society rife with discrimination and prejudice, where a strong woman is not allowed to make mistakes or be weak. She not only had to fight the music industry, but also a society that couldn't accept a black woman rising too high. 4. The tragedy of loneliness and inner pain. In 1992, as Queen Latifah's career was flourishing, a great loss occurred, plunging her into deep grief and loneliness. Her brother, Lancelot Owens Jr., died in a motorcycle accident, leaving an unfillable void in her life. This loss was not only an emotional shock, but also a complete upheaval of Queen Latifah's world. The older brother, a person the aunt loved and was close to, is now only a memory. His sudden death made her feel lost and disoriented in life. She didn't know what to do next, as sadness had never been easy to face. This loss not only ended an important family relationship, but also left her facing extreme loneliness, a loneliness that no one could fully understand. When faced with this pain, Queen Latifah didn't find solace in work or music, as she had in the past. Instead, she fell into a state of severe depression. She admitted that during these years she used cannabis to numb her emotions, as a way to escape the overwhelming sadness she didn't know how to cope with. Using drugs and medication became a way for her to hide her pain, to avoid feeling the emptiness and loneliness in her soul. Each time she smoked a joint, it was like a veil that temporarily shielded her from the emptiness in her heart, but at the same time, it was also a way for her to ignore difficult emotions she couldn't resolve. Although music is an indispensable part of her life, at this moment, she herself cannot create music strong enough to save herself. Depression and sadness gradually overshadowed every aspect of Queen Latifah's life. She felt surrounded by invisible walls, unable to escape. Even on stage, she remained a powerful feminist icon, but internally, she was a woman struggling with her own inner pain. These days are not only physically exhausting, but also emotionally numbing as everything becomes meaningless. Music and her career seemed to have lost their appeal to her, as the pain in her heart was greater than anything else. And it seemed for a moment that she couldn't see the light at the end of the tunnel. The pain doesn't stop at personal losses. Deep psychological wounds continued to haunt her, making things even worse. And then, the final tragedy occurred. The 1996 arrest for marijuana and gun possession was not only a major mistake in her life, but also an exposure of wounds that had never been healed in her soul. When the police raided her home and discovered illegal substances, it was a major shock not only for her, but also for the public. A woman who everyone once admired, a symbol of feminism, suddenly found herself entangled in serious legal issues. Her image, built up over many years, was suddenly shaken. The arrest was not only an illegal act, but also a sign that she could not escape the deep-seated emotional wounds that had penetrated her very core. This isn't the first time she's faced personal setbacks, but this time, it's a clear clash between the image she's cultivated and what she truly feels. She was a strong woman, always standing firm, but in that moment, she couldn't resist the accumulated pain of years. Deep wounds from family, from life, from losses, have pushed her to her limits. She felt trapped in a cage that she couldn't escape from. Tragedy is not just about personal mistakes, but also about confronting impossible expectations. Queen Latifah is not just an artist, she is an icon, a role model for countless women. But that very role model became a burden on her shoulders. When she couldn't escape her own torment, the public's expectations only made things worse. They expected her to be perfect, always strong. But she was just human with pains and weaknesses she couldn't hide. The pain in her heart could not be fully expressed through song, but could only be hidden in quiet moments that no one knew about. And then, in the most difficult moments of her life, Queen Latifah had to learn to accept herself, confront her inevitable weaknesses and pain. She couldn't just be a winner on stage without paying a price for her inner wounds. Her tragedy wasn't the end, but the beginning of a healing journey. A journey where she had to find strength within herself to move forward, even though the path ahead was still full of challenges. In those dark moments, Queen Latifah was not only a feminist icon, but also a real woman with all the weaknesses, vulnerabilities, and pain that needed to be overcome. Her tragedy wasn't just about mistakes and losses, but about her journey of self-confrontation, overcoming inner pain to continue shining. 5. A journey of rebirth. After tragedy. After weathering storms and crises, Queen Latifah chose to transform the tragedies in her life into a source of creative energy. She is not just a celebrity who has experienced setbacks and mistakes, but a role model of a reborn strong and resilient woman. That terrible incident, although it caused her to endure heavy public criticism, also served as a springboard for her to reaffirm herself. From someone criticized by society, she rose to become an inspiration, a symbol for women who have been hurt, but always get back up after every fall. When the scandal passed, Queen Latifah didn't choose to hide or let herself be consumed by her mistakes. She decided to give up drugs, a part of her past filled with difficult problems, in order to find herself again. This wasn't an easy decision, but for Queen Latifah, it was a crucial turning point in her journey of reinvention. She returned to work, to music, and to the strong roles she had always wanted to play. One of her notable steps was appearing in films like Set It Off in Chicago, where she portrayed vulnerable but never submissive female characters. These roles not only highlighted her talent, but also presented a new image of Queen Latifah, a resilient woman who, despite setbacks, always gets back up. The challenges she has faced have not only taught her patience, but have also been a lesson in the power of resilience. She used the tragedies in her life as creative fuel from which she created symbolic works. She has become a voice for oppressed women, especially women of color, who have long had few opportunities to express themselves on major stages. Her image is no longer just that of a female rapper or a movie star, but of a strong, resilient woman who constantly fights for herself and those around her. After every tragedy, Queen Latifah learns to get back on her feet. She doesn't try to hide her past mistakes or failures. Instead, she confronts them and turns them into motivation. She proved that a woman not only has the right to be strong, but also the right to be vulnerable, to fall down, and most importantly, to know how to get back up after every fall. She doesn't hesitate to show vulnerability because it's part of the growing process. It was these very challenges and failures that helped her become the person she is today, imperfect, but strong, resilient, and truly admirable. In this way, Queen Latifah transformed her emotional wounds into positive energy, creating works and messages that not only touched the hearts of fans, but also changed perceptions of women in society. She not only rose from adversity, but also inspired an entire generation of women to stand up and break the limitations society had placed upon them. By portraying strong roles and participating in humanistic artistic projects, Queen Latifah has become an ideal role model for many women, especially those treated unfairly by society and the media. Despite facing countless challenges, Queen Latifah not only made a strong comeback, but also proved that failure and setbacks are not the end. She rose not only to prove that a woman can overcome anything, but also to emphasize that truth, sincerity, and inner strength are the most important factors in every person's journey. In this challenging world, Queen Latifah shows us that no matter what, we can get back up. After every stumble, keep moving forward and be stronger than ever. She not only changed herself, but also had a profound impact on popular culture as a whole. When difficulties, wounds, and failures are no longer weaknesses, but strengths to build the future, she has become a symbol not only for women of color, but for all who believe in the ability to overcome adversity. Queen Latifah is proof that no matter how many times we stumble, no matter how many seemingly insurmountable challenges we face, as long as we don't give up, there is always an opportunity for rebirth and shining. With everything Queen Latifah has been through, she has proven that life isn't always fair, but we can decide how to face it. Despite setbacks and injuries, she not only got back on her feet, but also rose up strongly, becoming a symbol of women's strength, resilience, and determination. Queen Latifah's comeback is not just a personal story, but an inspiring one for anyone facing difficulties, failures, and suffering in life. 6. Conclusion. The tragedy of power. When the world doesn't allow women the right to be weak. Despite overcoming many challenges and becoming a strong role model, Queen Latifah still carries an invisible burden. She is not allowed to be vulnerable. Despite being an icon of female strength, especially for women of color, Queen Latifah has always faced societal pressure, a society that never allows women to make mistakes or fail. She is not only a symbol of strength, but also has to maintain a perfect image and is not allowed to show any signs of weakness. From a young age, Queen Latifah lived in a harsh world. In music, she had to fight not only to prove her talent, but also to combat prejudice. Women of color are not valued in the world of hip-hop, and she had to fight to assert herself. However, the more successful she became, the more she realized that society expected her to be the ideal role model of strength never allowed to fail. Despite achieving so much, Queen Latifah still lives under constant pressure from society. She couldn't stumble, couldn't show fatigue, because that was a sign of weakness, something society wouldn't accept in a strong woman like her. In the eyes of many, black women must always be winners and are not allowed to be weak. This is what creates the relentless pressure she has to face. Queen Latifah's true strength isn't about never falling, but about her ability to get back up after every setback. She has proven that true strength comes from the ability to resiliently overcome challenges. But unfortunately, while she achieved great success, society still didn't allow her to show vulnerability, even though everyone needs moments to rest and recover. She had to constantly fight not only against external challenges, but also against the expectations and scrutiny of the public. In the music industry, where women, especially women of color, have always had to fight for recognition, Queen Latifah has succeeded through talent and resilience. But the more successful she became, the more she realized she wasn't just facing professional challenges, but also harsh societal expectations and norms about the ideal woman. She is not allowed to fail, not allowed to be weak, because when she stumbles, society will not only criticize her actions, but also judge her against an unattainable standard. Unfortunately, despite achieving great things, Queen Latifah was never allowed to show weakness or express feelings of fatigue. She had to maintain the image of a strong person who never falters, regardless of the challenges she had to overcome. She couldn't stop, couldn't have moments of weakness, even though in reality, everyone needs time to recover. And it was this expectation, this imposition of a strong woman model, that became a burden she had to carry throughout her life. Despite being a powerful icon, Queen Latifah still had to fight not only for her career, but also for the image society had imposed on her. She couldn't stumble, couldn't feel tired, couldn't have moments of weakness. Her strength isn't invincibility, but her ability to rise after every failure. She continued to fight not just for herself, but for all the women who face unattainable expectations. Despite societal expectations that women should not be weak, Queen Latifah remains a role model of resilience, an icon not only for her success, but also for how she has faced every challenge in her life.
All data, analysis, and commentary in this video are presented based on information available at the time of production. The content is subject to change over time and should not be considered a definitive forecast. There is still so much more to explore: stories of resilience, legacy, and truth. Feel free to dive into some of our top recommended videos now appearing on your screen.